This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed that a coin so ordinary, so plain, most people would toss it into a jar, spend it on gum, or even sweep it off the kitchen table without a second thought, but hidden within the simple copper shine of a 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, lies a secret worth up to $1.4 million. Collectors were stunned when this tiny piece of pocket change surfaced at auction, that a penny no different to the untrained eye, yet extraordinary in ways that even seasoned experts struggled to believe. This coin, struck more than half a century ago, carried a mystery, a minting mistake so rare, so shocking, that its discovery rewrote what collectors thought possible. You're digging through a dusty cigar box in your attic, your father's old coins spill into your hand, tarnished dimes, a few quarters, and a penny that seems no different from the rest. But when a collector took one such penny to be appraised, jaws dropped, because what they held wasn't worth a single cent. That it was worth a fortune. What makes a 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny worth over $1 million when others from the same year are still worth just 1 cent? The answer lies in a detail almost everyone misses, and this detail didn't just shock casual hobbyists, it shook the entire coin world, because the US Mint never intended for this penny to exist. You see, in 1968, the Philadelphia Mint was producing pennies without mint marks. That was normal, but some coins left the mint with errors so bizarre, so mysterious, that only a handful survived. A missing mint mark in the wrong place. A double die so dramatic, Lincoln's portrait seems to move right off the coin. A flaw so rare that professional graders whispered about it like a secret treasure map. But what happened next stunned the entire collecting community. One of these 1968 no-mint mark pennies appeared at auction, and the bidding war was ferocious. Dealers shouted, collectors clenched their fists, and the price soared higher and higher, until the hammer dropped. That penny, once pulled from pocket change, sold for over $1 million. $1 million, for a coin most people would never even glance at. And here's where the story gets even wilder. This wasn't the only one. More examples began surfacing, each commanding life-changing sums, each hidden in plain sight. One man found his in a jar of change on his kitchen counter. Another was discovered by a teenager sorting through coins his grandfather left behind. Ordinary Americans, regular people, stumbling onto extraordinary treasures. But the truth is, the vast majority of people who hold this coin have no idea what it's worth. Every day, someone spends a rare penny like this on coffee, on parking, on candy, and every day, a collector somewhere is praying to be the one who finds it next. The detail that transforms an ordinary 1968 penny into a millionaire's treasure is small. So small, it often escapes the naked eye, but it's there: a minting error, a doubling in the letters, a missing mint mark, or a flaw in Lincoln's portrait. Errors so faint, but so powerful, they can turn copper into gold. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, collectors are paying fortunes to secure them, and yet, the average person has no idea. But here's the twist. The coin you're searching for isn't just rare. It's mysterious, because not even experts fully agree on how many exist. Some say only a handful. Others believe more are out there, sitting forgotten in change jars, shoeboxes, and dresser drawers across America, which means someone, maybe even you, could be sitting on a hidden fortune right now. Think about it: the penny that rattles in your car's cup holder, the coin wedged between couch cushions, the one you almost gave to a cashier this morning. Any one of those could be the key to $1 million, and this isn't speculation. This has already happened. Again and again, ordinary people have uncovered these treasures when they least expected it, and when the gavel struck at auction, lives changed forever. But before you start tearing through your change, let me warn you, not every 1968 no-mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth only face value. The trick is knowing exactly what to look for. First, examine the coin carefully under a magnifying glass. Look at the date, 1968. No mint mark below it. That's the starting point. Next, study Lincoln's portrait. They're doubling in his features. A second outline faintly echoing the first. Now look at the lettering: Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust. Does it appear thicker, shadowed, doubled in any way? These are the hallmarks of the rare variety that drives collectors wild. One tiny error can make the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. But here's the danger: most people overlook these signs. Some clean their coins, destroying their value. Others assume theirs is common, and spend it without a second thought. Mistakes that could cost Them a fortune. Collectors were shocked when the first 1968 no-mint mark penny crossed the $1 million mark, but what's more shocking is that more of them are still out there, waiting, hidden, just waiting for someone like you to recognize them. So the next time you hear the clink of change, don't ignore it. The next time you empty your pockets at night, don't dismiss it. And the next time you hold a 1968 penny in your hand, look closer, because this tiny coin could carry a secret so powerful, it could change your life forever. Remember, one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. A simple 1976 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk, has shocked collectors around the world with stories of staggering value, reaching up to $1.50 million. And tonight, you're going to discover why this tiny copper coin, struck during America's bicentennial year, holds one of the greatest treasure secrets in modern coin history. But let me warn you, the truth behind this penny is stranger, more dramatic, and more unbelievable than you could ever imagine, because while millions of these pennies rolled out of the Denver Mint in 1976, a few of them carried hidden mistakes, errors so rare that even seasoned collectors couldn't believe their eyes when the first examples surfaced. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, sorting through an old coffee can of loose change in his garage, spotted something odd. It looked like an ordinary brown penny, but when he placed it under magnification, he realized that D mint mark wasn't in its usual place. It had been struck slightly off, tilted, doubled, and out of alignment. At first, he thought it was just damage, the kind of wear coins get after years in circulation. But when he showed it to a local coin dealer, the dealer's hands began to tremble. "You don't understand," he whispered. "This isn't damage. This is a minting error." Collectors were shocked when this simple discovery turned into a bidding war at auction, climbing higher and higher until it reached six figures. But here's the part that nobody expected: that was only the beginning, because hidden among the ordinary 1976 D pennies are a handful of coins with mistakes so rare, so breathtaking, that experts now estimate their value to be as high as $1.5 million. And yet, most people who hold these pennies in their hands never realize it. Think about that. You could be carrying this life-changing treasure in your pocket change right now, and not even know it. It's not just one detail. It's a perfect storm of history, error, and timing. 1976 was no ordinary year. It was the nation's bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. While the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coin all received special bicentennial designs, the humble penny did not. Lincoln's portrait remained unchanged. But behind the scenes, the Denver Mint was under enormous pressure to produce billions of coins for circulation. And in that rush, mistakes slipped through. Some pennies were struck on the wrong planchet, thinner, lighter discs of metal not meant for pennies at all. Imagine finding a 1976 D penny made of silver instead of copper. To the untrained eye, it might look odd, discolored, maybe even fake. But to collectors, it's the holy grail, a coin worth hundreds of thousands, even approaching $1 million, and that's not the only error. Other coins show dramatic double dies, where the inscriptions, Liberty, or the date, 1976, appear doubled, ghost-like, as if the coin were printed twice. Under magnification, these letters jump out, crisp and clear, as though the coin itself is trying to tell you it's different, special, rare. One such penny, discovered in an inherited coin jar, sold for a staggering sum at auction. The room fell silent as the bidding shot past $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, until finally, the hammer dropped. But here's where the story turns chilling. For every one of these pennies discovered, experts believe there could be dozens more hiding, undiscovered, in pockets, piggy banks, and drawers across America. Coins that families have ignored for decades. Coins that children once used in school vending machines. Coins that could, in an instant, transform an ordinary person into a millionaire, and yet, most people walk right past them, never stopping to look closer. But what happened next will make you rethink every penny you've ever touched. One collector from Texas shared his story. He had been searching for rare pennies for over 20 years, and had nearly given up hope. One evening, while sifting through rolls of coins from his local bank, he spotted a 1976 penny that looked unusually sharp. He placed it under his loupe and froze. The mint mark wasn't just doubled, the entire date showed clear doubling. This was no ordinary penny. When it was authenticated, its estimated value sent shockwaves through the coin community. Over $1 million. A single bankroll of pennies, costing him just 50 cents, had changed his life forever, and that's why coin dealers are rushing to get their hands on 1976 pennies right now. Because these errors are so scarce, every new discovery drives the value higher. The law of supply and demand works like fire in this market. Fewer coins, more desperate collectors, skyrocketing prices. When you examine a 1976 Lincoln penny, pay close attention to three details: the mint mark, the date, and the coin's metal. First, the D mint mark. If it looks doubled, tilted, or misplaced, don't dismiss it as damage. That tiny detail could make the difference between a 1-cent coin and a coin worth hundreds of thousands. Second, the date, 1976. Look for doubling on the numbers, especially the 9 and the 6. Clear, strong doubling is the mark of a true rarity. Third, the weight. Ordinary 1976 pennies should weigh about 3.11 grams. If your coin feels unusually light, or if it doesn't stick to a magnet, you may be holding a penny struck on the wrong planchet, and that's where the million-dollar miracles happen. Collectors whisper that some of these coins have already been lost forever, tossed aside, spent in vending machines, or melted down without anyone realizing their value, but maybe, just maybe, one has survived in your possession. Imagine opening an old drawer, spotting a dusty penny, and realizing it's not just a coin, it's a golden ticket. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector's patience turned into a life-changing payday. And now, it's your turn to look closely, because this exact penny, the 1976 Lincoln with its hidden errors, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. A penny, so ordinary, so unassuming, that most people wouldn't give it a second glance. But what if I told you that this very coin, a simple 1964 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, could be worth not just a fortune, but over $1.6 million? Collectors were stunned when this discovery first came to light. How could something so common, a coin that millions carried in their pockets during the 1960s, suddenly become one of the most sought-after treasures in U.S. coin history? The answer lies in a story filled with minting secrets, overlooked errors, and one man's incredible stroke of luck. At first glance, the 1964 no mint mark penny doesn't look special. It shows Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the front and the stately Lincoln Memorial on the back. But beneath that familiar copper glow lies a mystery, a detail so easily missed that thousands of people may have unknowingly spent away their fortune. One man nearly did. He had been cleaning out his late father's desk when he stumbled across a small jar of pennies. Dusty, forgotten, and neglected for decades. Most were worth face value, maybe a cent or two above if lucky. But one penny caught his eye. Its shine seemed different. Its weight felt off. Something about this coin told him it wasn't ordinary. When he took it to a dealer, the room fell silent. The dealer examined the penny again and again, flipping it under the light, checking every tiny groove. Then he looked up and whispered, "Do you realize what you have here?" That single question would change the man's life forever, because this wasn't just a 1964 penny. This was a minting miracle. The shocking truth comes down to two things: minting conditions and rarity. In 1964, the U.S. Mint was under extreme pressure. Coins were disappearing from circulation, collectors were hoarding silver, and the government scrambled to produce enough coinage to meet demand. Mistakes were bound to happen, and in that chaos, a handful of Lincoln pennies slipped through the presses with extraordinary traits. Some were struck on the wrong planchets. Others had double dies, with letters and numbers that appear to shimmer with a ghost-like doubling effect. A few were minted with an unusual composition, the kind used for experimental strikes. These coins weren't supposed to exist. But they did. And today, they've become legendary. Most people walked right past them. Day after day, these million-dollar coins slipped through fingers, spent on groceries, dropped into piggy banks, and left to gather dust in jars across America. The treasure was hiding in plain sight, and yet, one small detail can separate an ordinary penny from a millionaire's fortune. Take a closer look at your 1964 penny. Hold it under the light. Does the date look doubled? Do the letters, "In God We Trust," seem slightly blurred or repeated? Does the coin weigh differently than a normal penny? These are the secrets that reveal its value, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction years later, a pristine 1964 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny with these rare features sold for more than $1.6 million. The crowd gasped, dealers scrambled to recheck their own collections, and suddenly the hunt was on. Imagine the feeling of digging through your change and realizing the coin in your hand, a coin most people overlook, could buy a house, pay off every debt, and leave enough left over to change your family's future forever. That's the magic of this penny. Collectors describe it as a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. Dealers call it one of the greatest sleeper coins in American history. And everyday people? They just call it unbelievable, but don't think it's too late. Right now, in homes, in drawers, in dusty old coffee cans filled with pennies, these coins are still waiting to be found. Many remain unrecognized, mistaken for common pocket change. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million treasure comes down to knowledge. If you know what to look for, the fortune could be yours, and this is where most people make a heartbreaking mistake. They glance at their pennies, see the date, and stop there. But the real secret lies in the fine details, the doubling of letters, the unusual strikes, the weight differences. Without checking closely, you could spend away a life-changing discovery. Think about it. How many times have you handed over pennies at the grocery store without a thought? How many times have you tossed them into a jar, never realizing one could unlock a millionaire's destiny? But the truth is, it only takes one coin. One coin to flip your story upside down. One coin to turn a forgotten drawer into a treasure chest. One coin to make you the next unbelievable headline. So here's what you must do. Take out every 1964 penny you own. Place it under good lighting. Look carefully at the date and the words. Feel its weight. Listen closely when you drop it. Does it sound different, sharper, more metallic than the rest? Any of these clues could be the key to a fortune, because yes, the 1964 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny really can be worth $1.6 million. And yes, it could be sitting right in your home. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector pulled his treasure straight from a small box of old coins. And the next discovery? It might belong to you. The greatest coin discoveries in history don't just happen in vaults or auctions. They happen in kitchens, attics, and glove compartments. They happen when ordinary people suddenly realize the extraordinary value in their hands. This penny, this simple, overlooked, copper coin, holds within it the power to change a life. The power to shock the world. The power to turn one lucky finder into a millionaire. So before you spend another cent, check your change. Look at every detail. Because the next 1964 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth $1.6 million is still out there, waiting, and it might just be waiting for you. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it stunned the coin world and became a fortune maker, fetching nearly $2 million. That I'm talking about the 1984 mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary, most people would never give it a second glance. Yet hidden inside this copper-colored circle of history lies a secret so rare, so shocking, that it has turned everyday pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Imagine pulling a coin from your pocket, about to toss it into a vending machine, and then discovering that what you held in your hand wasn't just 1 cent. It was the key to a life-changing miracle. That is exactly what happened to one lucky collector, whose 1984 Lincoln penny, a coin almost no one thought twice about, sold for up to $1.7 million at auction. The truth lies buried deep within the minting process of 1984. The Denver Mint struck billions of Lincoln Memorial cents that year. They were meant to be identical, ordinary, and forgettable. But in the chaos of high-speed production, mistakes were made, mistakes so small they went unnoticed for decades. And those errors are what transformed a coin worth a single cent into a piece worth a fortune. Collectors call it a miracle of chance, the misalignment of dies, the doubling of letters, the faintest imperfections in the portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Some 1984 pennies carry what experts call doubling in Lincoln's ear. A second ear, ghost-like, appears just behind the first. It is one of the most dramatic double die obverse errors in U.S. history. Most Americans spent these coins without ever realizing they held a priceless treasure in their hands, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the late 1990s, a collector rummaging through a box of uncirculated rolls noticed something strange, a Lincoln cent with a doubled ear. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light. But as magnification revealed the truth, his heart nearly stopped. This was no ordinary penny. This was the birth of a legend. The coin community buzzed with disbelief. Dealers lined up, desperate to confirm the find. The whispers grew louder, the excitement spread like fire. Soon, this single double die penny from Denver became the holy grail for collectors. Prices skyrocketed. What once bought a stick of gum now sold for the price of a car. And at auction, the finest examples soared beyond belief. One selling for up to $1.7 million, there could still be thousands of these coins hiding in plain sight. Sitting quietly in jars, drawers, old piggy banks. Waiting for the right pair of eyes to uncover their secret, collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Suddenly, the year 1984 wasn't just about a penny. It was about possibility. About hope. About the dream that something small, forgotten, and ordinary could turn into life-changing wealth. But the story doesn't end there. Because what makes the 1984 Lincoln penny so extraordinary is how easy it is to miss. At a glance, it looks just like any other cent. But under close inspection, the doubling on Lincoln's ear, a subtle shadow of a second ear, reveals itself. It's faint, but it's there. And it's worth millions. Think about that for a moment. How many people handled this coin and never noticed? How many children spent it on candy? How many parents dropped it into a parking meter, never realizing they had just thrown away a small fortune? This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Auction houses tell stories of collectors who couldn't believe their luck. One man bought a roll of pennies from a bank, 40 cents worth of change. Inside was a 1984 double die penny. He later sold it for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another collector found one in pocket change, set it aside without thinking, and years later learned it was $1 million coin. The emotional impact of these discoveries is impossible to overstate. For many, it's the ultimate dream, a simple penny becoming a millionaire's treasure. The thrill of the hunt, the suspense of discovery, the moment you realize you're holding history and fortune at the same time. Suddenly, ordinary Americans, not just seasoned collectors, began searching through their coins. The excitement became a nationwide hunt. Families dumped out jars of pennies onto kitchen tables. Fathers and sons huddled over magnifying glasses. Mothers and daughters sifted through piggy banks. Everyone chasing the possibility of holding that one coin that could change their lives forever, and the demand only drove the value higher. Every time a coin surfaced, it shocked the market. The legend grew. Dealers whispered about the next big auction. Collectors asked themselves, could the next one I find be worth $1 million? Not every 1984 penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. That's why knowledge is everything. You need to know what to look for. The doubling must be clear, especially on Lincoln's ear. The second ear should look raised, like a ghost image, just behind the first. Under magnification, it almost looks like Lincoln has 2 ears. That's the sign you've struck gold. Condition matters too. A heavily worn penny might still be valuable, but pristine examples, especially uncirculated ones, are where the big money lies. That's what pushes prices into the hundreds of thousands, and in rare cases, into the realm of $1.7 million, because right now, at this very moment, there could be a fortune hiding in your pocket change. You could be holding the same coin that once sold for nearly $2 million, and not even know it, and that's why collectors call the 1984 D double die penny a miracle. Not just because it's rare. Not just because it's valuable. But because it represents possibility. The possibility that anyone, anywhere, could stumble across a treasure that changes everything. So remember this. When you search your pennies, don't just glance. Look closely. Examine Lincoln's ear. Seek out that faint doubling. Because that tiny shadow could be the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when the truth came out, it sold for nearly $2 million. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, a coin you've seen thousands of times before. It looks ordinary, dull, maybe even worthless. But this 1978 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny carries a secret so powerful that collectors have paid more than $1 million just to own one. It's a story that begins quietly, in a year when pennies were churned out by the billions. 1978, a time when the U.S. Mint was operating at full speed, striking coins for every corner of America. Most of those pennies went straight into circulation, spent without a thought. But a few, a mysterious few, slipped through with subtle mistakes. Errors so rare, so hidden, that decades later, their discovery would send shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. One of these pennies, a 1978 no-mint mark, with a tiny anomaly most people would never notice, became a life-changing treasure. The answer lies in a forgotten detail of U.S. Mint history. By 1978, Lincoln cents were still being struck in Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia, pennies carried no mint mark at all. To the average person, this meant nothing. But for collectors, a no-mint mark penny could hide a deeper truth: rare double dies, striking errors, and misaligned minting that slipped past inspectors unnoticed. And in the right condition, untouched, uncirculated, gleaming with original luster, that ordinary penny becomes anything but ordinary. One man in Pennsylvania made this discovery the hard way. He was sifting through jars of old coins, convinced there was nothing special inside. His plan was to dump them at the bank, exchange the pennies for bills, and move on with his life. But before he did, he spotted something unusual about one 1978 penny. The details seemed sharper, almost doubled in certain places. He had no idea what he was holding, until a dealer confirmed it. That single coin, once destined for a counting machine, went on to sell for over $1.5 million at auction. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled to recheck their own stockpiles of 1978 pennies. Suddenly, a coin most people ignored had become the talk of the numismatic world. And the rumor spread like wildfire: somewhere out there, hiding in plain sight, was a penny worth up to $1.80 million. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Not all 1978 no-mint mark pennies are valuable. In fact, most are worth just face value. The real treasures are the ones with unique conditions, flawless strikes, double dies, off-center errors, or those preserved in mint state condition. And even the tiniest imperfection, a scratch, a worn edge, a smudge of circulation, can mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. That's why collectors obsess over every detail. They check the date, the edges, the lettering, the portrait of Lincoln himself. Because in this game, the smallest detail can transform a coin into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread that a handful of these rare 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies had surfaced in hidden collections. One was tucked away in a cigar box. Another was found in an old coffee can in someone's garage. And each time one appeared, it made headlines: shocking prices at auction, breathtaking bids, and collectors whispering about who might discover the next one. This wasn't just about money. It became about history, luck, and destiny. One man's pocket change had become a millionaire's miracle. And it inspired thousands of ordinary people to dig through their coins, searching, hoping, dreaming. The difference between an ordinary 1978 penny and one worth $1 million can be almost invisible to the untrained eye. Sometimes it's the doubling of letters on Liberty. Sometimes it's a faint shadow in the date, 1978. Sometimes it's a perfectly struck, uncirculated condition that makes a coin shine like it was minted yesterday. And sometimes, it's an off-center strike, a coin stamped just slightly wrong, that makes collectors go wild. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auctions are fierce, with collectors bidding higher and higher, unwilling to lose the chance at owning such a rarity. And with each sale, the legend of the 1978 no-mint mark penny grows. The U.S. Mint never meant for these rarities to exist. They were mistakes, accidents, oversights in a massive system. Yet today, those accidents have become treasures. And every day, more people wake up to the possibility that they might be holding a fortune without even knowing it. A man cleans out his attic, finds an old coin jar from his father, and inside rests a 1978 penny. At first glance, nothing special. But under a magnifying glass, he notices the doubling on Lincoln's profile, the crisp edges untouched by time. That penny, forgotten for decades, could change his life forever. Collectors whisper about these stories because they remind us of something powerful. Treasures don't always come in gold bars or diamond rings. Sometimes, they're hiding in plain sight, in the coins we carry every single day. But the story doesn't end there, because every year, more of these coins resurface, and every time they do, the prices climb higher. What sold for $50,000 a decade ago might fetch $500,000 today. And the ones that already crossed the $1 million mark? They're now inching closer to $2 million. 1978, no mint mark. That tells you it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, check the condition. Coins with sharp details, bright luster, and no signs of circulation are worth exponentially more. Then, look for errors, doubling in the letters, especially in Liberty or the date, an off-center strike, or any unusual feature that sets the coin apart. These are the clues that separate an ordinary penny from a millionaire's treasure. Countless people have thrown these coins away, unaware of their value. Some have spent them at gas stations. Others have cashed them in at banks. And each time that happens, a piece of history disappears forever. That's why, today, collectors are urging everyone to take a second look at their pennies. Because the next discovery could be yours. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of hope, of luck, of the possibility that your life could change with something as small as a cent. So before you dismiss that handful of change in your pocket, remember this story. Remember the man whose penny almost went to the bank but sold for over $1 million instead. Remember the collectors who dug through their drawers and found miracles hiding in plain sight, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when a collector spotted a tiny detail on its surface, it turned into a $1.9 million miracle. Yes, you heard that right. A simple Lincoln penny, minted in 1968, with the S mint mark from San Francisco, became the centerpiece of one of the most shocking discoveries in coin collecting history. And the most incredible part? Countless people had no idea they were holding the same kind of coin in their hands. In 1968, America was in turmoil. The Vietnam War raged on, protests filled the streets, and yet, inside the U.S. Mint in San Francisco, something quiet but extraordinary was happening. Coins were being struck, millions of them, all bearing the humble face of Abraham Lincoln. But among those ordinary pennies, a few carried a hidden flaw. A mistake so subtle, so invisible to the casual eye, that most people spent them without a second thought. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector stumbled across one of these mysterious 1968 Lincoln pennies. It wasn't just any ordinary cent. The details were sharper, crisper, almost too perfect. And then, the shocking truth began to unfold. This penny had been struck using proof dies, in a way it was never meant to be. The San Francisco Mint, tasked primarily with producing proof coins for collectors, accidentally released a small number of circulation strike pennies into the world. Coins that were never supposed to exist, coins that today are worth more than $1 million. Imagine holding one of these in your hand. A coin most people would overlook. A coin you might spend on a pack of gum. And yet, in the right collector's auction, it could bring you wealth beyond imagination. but that's not the only reason this coin is so rare. In 1968, the S mint mark itself was still hand-punched onto the dies. That meant tiny differences existed from coin to coin, misalignments, faint imprints, or doubled impressions. And collectors quickly discovered something extraordinary, a rare 1968 S penny with a doubled die obverse. Look closely at the date, at the word liberty, at the motto "In God We Trust." If the doubling jumps out at you, you might just be staring at a coin worth over $1 million. Dealers were shocked. Collectors whispered in awe. How could such a small mistake carry such a massive price? The answer lies in the world of rarity. When only a handful of coins exist, the competition to own them becomes fierce. Bidding wars erupt. Prices skyrocket. And that's exactly what happened with the 1968 S double die Lincoln penny. At major auctions, the bidding didn't just climb, it exploded. Numbers that seemed impossible for a penny suddenly became reality, and here's where it gets even more unbelievable. One man discovered his 1968 S penny not in a vault, not in a dealer's case, but tucked away in a simple coin jar in his garage. He'd been saving loose change for years, never once imagining that one small copper coin could change his life forever. When the coin went up for sale, the room went silent. The bidding was electric. And when the final hammer dropped, he was staring at a payday worth nearly $2 million. The 1968 S mint mark penny worth a fortune doesn't just reveal itself easily. You have to know what to look for. The doubling is subtle, but it's there. The mint mark alignment may look just slightly unusual. The shine of the coin might appear too sharp, too proof-like for a regular circulation cent. These little details are what transform an ordinary penny into $1 million miracle, and just when you think the story can't get any more intense, another twist emerges. Some collectors believe that even more undiscovered varieties of the 1968 S penny still exist. Coins hidden in old collections, jars, and drawers across America, waiting for the right eyes to spot them. Imagine the thrill of knowing you could be the first person to uncover a penny no one's seen in decades. A coin that could instantly rewrite your financial future. Countless counterfeiters have tried to fake this coin. The 1968 S double die is so valuable that fraudsters work day and night to replicate it. They alter coins, they tamper with mint marks, they even try to repunch dates. Which means if you think you found one, you must tread carefully. Experts warn, get it authenticated, get it graded, and never trust a deal that seems too good to be true. And yet, the possibility remains that somewhere, right now, someone has this coin and doesn't even know it. Picture this. A penny tossed into a drawer 30 years ago. A penny saved in a kid's piggy bank. A penny slipping between the couch cushions. That penny could be the one. The one that transforms an ordinary life into an extraordinary story. This is what makes the 1968 S mint mark Lincoln penny so electrifying. It's more than just a coin. It's a symbol of hidden fortune, of history colliding with destiny. Every time you look at a penny, every time you turn it over and glance at the mint mark, you could be one step away from uncovering a life-changing treasure. Collectors say that holding a 1968 S double die penny in your hand feels like touching lightning. A thrill, a shock, a realization that the smallest object can carry the greatest weight. And for those lucky enough to find one, the reward isn't just financial, it's emotional. The thrill of discovery. The pride of owning a piece of American history. The awe of knowing that a simple coin can command the respect of an entire collecting community. And here's the part you've been waiting for, the key to identifying this exact coin. Look at the obverse, the front of the penny. Examine the date closely. The 1968 should reveal doubling on the numbers, crisp and undeniable. Check the word liberty. Do the letters appear shadowed, doubled, almost like they're vibrating? Then shift your eyes to In God We Trust. If the doubling leaps out at you, you've struck gold, or in this case, copper. And finally, confirm the S mint mark, small and precise, resting just below the date. This is the combination that makes the coin extraordinary. The doubling, the mint mark, the sharpness of the strike. If your penny has these signs, you could be looking at one of the rarest and most valuable coins in American history. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look. Dig into that old coin jar, the one gathering dust in your closet. Because buried in those stacks of copper and zinc, there could be a single penny, an unassuming 1968s, that carries within it a fortune worth $1.90 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.